Alright, so let's start by explaining what firewall is. Firewall is a software that monitors inbound and outbound traffic from your computer system. What it actually does is that it acts as a gate man or a security checkpoint for packets or traffic that is coming into your computer system or going out. If a packet is coming in and it meets the criteria or the rules that are set in the firewall, it allows it to go in or out. If it doesn't, it drops the packet immediately. Firewalls come in different forms. They can come in the form of software and they can also come in the form of hardware. Now, software firewalls could be already part of your operating system. You don't need to buy it, you just have to configure it or activate it. Or they can also come in the form of third-party applications which you need to download onto your system, install and configure. Firewalls are used mainly at two different levels in computing. At the host level, where they are already part of your operating system, or at the network level, where they are deployed to monitor a whole network. Now, firewalls are so important that they are already part of most crucial operating systems. And all you need to do is to activate them if they are not already activated, or configure them according to your own rules. Let's observe this particular simulator here and use it to understand firewalls before we start the configuration itself. Looking at this particular simulator over here, we are assuming this is the internet, this is a firewall, and this is our PC. Now, the firewall over there could be a hardware that is on the network or a software that is maybe already part of your operating system or a third-party software. Okay, so let's start the simulation and see what happens. Now, once I click here, you can see that we have a lot of packets emanating from the internet, getting through the firewall directly to our host. And all this traffic is allowed, all these protocols are allowed to come through. Now, observe this. When I begin to block the packets, see what will happen. You realize all packets are being blocked and none is going through to the host. In case I allowed UDP, take a look at it. UDP is the only packet or the only traffic that is allowed to come through. And you see, UDP is the only one going through. And that is how firewalls work. Now, let's take a look at the real firewall configuration. For this particular practical lesson, we are using Windows 11. So for this particular lesson, we are going to use the Windows Firewall. It is also good to know that there are a lot of different types of third-party firewalls out there. You can just use Google to download some of them and explore their features. Some are for free, some aren't for free. So how do you access the Windows Firewall? It's very simple. You access the start menu and then you type firewall. And then right after clicking on firewall, you should scroll down to this particular option. These are all firewall options over here, but we are going for the advanced settings because that is where the details will be. Now, once we launch it, we will be presented with this particular dashboard. This is the firewall dashboard. We have the right window pane here, which contains the rules, the available rules. We also have the middle panes, which will display the kind of rules in use. We have the actions pane over here, which contains a lot of features and actions that we can enforce. Now, let's talk about these features one by one. First of all, let's talk about the inbound rules. What are the inbound rules? The inbound rules are rules that govern how data from the internet or data from your network accesses your PC. Okay, these are rules that allow or deny incoming traffic. And as you can see here, these are a lot of rules already existing on my system. Most of them are pre-configured from the time I was installing the operating system. Then we also have the outbound rules. Now, these ones here are rules that govern how your PC communicates with the network or the internet. It tells you or it allows certain software and certain devices to connect to an outside network. Okay, then we have the connection security rules, which has nothing to display, and then we have the active monitoring, what is currently going on. So the next phase, let's talk about how to configure inbound rules. So in this tutorial, we are going to create an inbound rule, but as a precaution, never attempt to create any inbound rule on your computer unless it is truly required. Now, why do we create inbound rules? You see, at times you may be using certain applications on your computer, or you may be hosting certain services that you may want to grant access to certain files. Okay, on your computer, users may want to access your system. Once you start doing that, it means you are converting your system into a server. Okay, you are rendering services. People will be copying things from your PC, or an application needs to access your PC. Now, sometimes to you yourself, you may want to get into your PC to copy some things if you are not home, or for so many reasons. Never create inbound rules if you don't know what you are exactly doing, because by creating inbound rules, you are opening ports, you are giving access to your computer through the internet. Okay, if maybe a device that is connecting you, like a router, if it's not properly configured, it can lead to a lot of issues. So do this only when it is needed. Now let's create an inbound rule. How do we do that? It's very simple. You click on inbound, then you click on new rule. Then this wizard pops up, which is going to guide us through. What type of inbound rule are we creating? Are we creating a rule for a program, for a port, a predefined device or port or protocol, or custom? In this case, we are going for a port. So we tick port and then we click on next. Then, does this rule apply to a particular protocol, TCP or UDP, or all local port, or a specified port? In this case, I'm just creating this for port 443, which is what controls HTTPS protocol. So I'll type 443 in here, then I'll click on next. Then it's asking me, what is the purpose of this rule? Is it to allow connection, or to allow the connection if it is secured, or to block? In this case, I'm allowing connection. Then I'll go to next. Then the next phase is, when does this rule apply? Is it applying to my domain, or to my private network, or public network? Which one? In this case, I'm ticking everything. That means anybody connected to any of these three can get access into my system. So I'll go to next again. Then I'll give this rule a name. So maybe inbound 443 is the name I'm giving it. Then I'll click on finish. And once it's done, this is my rule over here. I've created an inbound traffic. I've given access to my port 443 from the internet or from the network. So anybody at all who knows my IP address can connect to my system and access a file or a resource through this particular port. Okay, now how can we confirm this? By double clicking here, we will see the properties of the rule we have just created. So looking at the properties, what do we have here? We have general, which gives us an overview of what is happening currently with the rule. It is enabled, it's allowing connection, we can block it otherwise. Then we have the programs and services, which we can configure and allow certain applications to connect through the port. We have remote computers, which we can allow to give authorized computers access. We have remote users, which will also allow to give authorized users direct access to our system. Then we have local principals. We have advanced features, which would allow us to permit or deny traffic from these particular areas. Then we have the scope. Okay, do we have any direct IP address in mind, any static IP that will be connecting to us or not? Then we have the ports and the protocols, which we have already configured as TCP port 443. So this gives us an overview of how we can open ports on our computers using firewall. Next, let's talk about outbound rules. Now let's talk about outbound rules. Outbound rules are the rules that determine how traffic leaves your computer system, how applications communicate with the internet. Okay, let's say you have an application on your system. You wouldn't want that application connecting to the internet or communicating with its server. then you can set a rule over here to block that application from communicating. But this can also lead to certain issues. So you should know when and how to apply this. Because if you apply this to an application, it simply means that that application cannot contact its home server for updates and patches again. So you should only apply this when you think it is needed. Let's create an outbound rule. It's also still the same process. You click on outbound rules, then you come to new rule. For this particular tutorial, we are blocking the malware browser on my system. We are preventing it from accessing the internet. Okay, so in this case, it's still the same thing as blocking or creating inbound rules. But this time around, it's not a port. We are blocking what? A program. So I'll click on next. And then in the next phase, which demands for the program path, indicating that we need to point to a particular program. Okay, so what will happen is that I'll have to access the path to my browser. So I'll look for it and then try to open the location of my browser's executable. And when I get here, I know from experience this isn't the right path. So I'll right click on this again and further go to open file location. And this is the original path that I want to copy. This is where the executable of the program can be located. So I'll click on browse and then click on OK and paste it here. Hit the enter key and locate the browser. This is the browser. Then I'll click on open. So that is the path to the executable file of that particular browser in its current folder. Okay, before we proceed, let's check something out. Let's launch the browser and test it to see if it can connect to the internet. So we are checking with Yahoo and seeing if Yahoo will load up. Once Yahoo loads up, that means we are good to go. And this is Yahoo loading. So we are currently connected to the internet. Now let's go back and complete this so that we see what happens next. So what we'll do is to click on next. And then in this case, we are not allowing connection. We are not allowing if it's secure, but we are blocking the connection. So we click on next and we are blocking everything. We are blocking domain, private and public networks, everything. We click on next again and give it a name. So maybe probably malware block. Then we click on finish. And then when we scroll up here, this is it over here. Now let's check it out whether malware will work again. This is it. You can see unable to connect. That means this particular software here has been blocked from accessing the internet. Okay, and then when we double click on the rule, this is where the property is displayed. We can decide to say we are allowing the connection, apply and click on OK. Then when we reload, we should be able to access the Yahoo server again. And this is it, attempting to access the Yahoo server. This is it. And it's working perfectly. So this tells us that we can easily block and allow programs and ports using our firewall. And this is the purpose and the use of the outbound rule. The next thing we are going to talk about are the connection security rules. Okay, now these particular rules are not simply inbound and outbound rules. These are rules with special configuration and setup. So if you want to create a new one, what we have to do is to click on the connection security rules, right click within the dashboard and click on new rule. Now we can create rules based on these pre-configured options. Okay, we have isolation, authentication exemption, server to server, tunnel and custom rules. However, this particular tutorial will not go into this particular area. This requires a lot of detailed knowledge, which will be coming up in the next tutorial. So we'll leave this as such for now. And we can clearly see that with this, we now understand what firewall is. We now understand what inbound rules are, what outbound rules are, how to open ports in a firewall, how to close ports in a firewall, and also how to block apps by setting up outbound rules that will block apps from communicating with the internet or our network. So guys, this brings us to the end of this tutorial.